Hey guys, it's your buddy Rome. Today we're going to take a look at a really cool little product from our friends over at Lunger. Now I know a lot of you guys reach out to me quite often throughout the week asking about laser engravers, 3D printers, and a variety of different devices that I talk about. And I do understand, the struggle is real. Some of you guys emphasize a lot how expensive some of these laser units can be to get started. Here is a very budget unit, guys. This is a very tiny laser as well. Now, this was sent out to me by Lunger to take a look at. So we're going to take this over to the desk. I'm going to set it up and do a demo for you guys with this laser, showing you guys what it is capable of doing. Now, this is a 2.5 watt laser, and I know, yes, I know I talk about 10 watt, 20 watt, 45 watts, all of that kind of stuff. But for somebody just starting out who just wants to be able to engrave on coasters, wood, paper, whatever the case it may be, this could be a great option for you. All right, guys, let's take this thing over to the desk and see exactly what we get. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's go. All right, guys, we're over here at the desk. So let me show you everything that comes in the box. Now, you do get a starter manual. I do recommend reading this because there are some URLs that you guys will need to download and install drivers for your Mac or PC for this device. Especially if you're going to be using Lightburn. So definitely take a look at this starter manual. You also receive a pair of these laser glasses for safety. Let's see. Yep, you guys can see right there on the glasses, it has its rating. So these should be really good for safety. This specific style laser does use a focus block. And this little piece of acrylic is what you're going to use to focus. I'll show you guys how that works here in a second. You also receive this little knob, and this is going to attach to the laser. And this is what's going to allow you to lower the laser and lock it in place. You get a nice little brush here, so if you're getting, particles of wood or acrylic and stuff like that, you'll be able to clean that off. That's nice that they supply you with that. You also get a little mini wrench here. This is an 8 and 10. So if you need to adjust something or tighten something up, they at least give you a tool. And of course, you receive your USB-A to USB-C cable. Now, there is some installation required in order to set this guy up. So let's get right to it. All right, guys, so to install your laser module, everything is already assembled here. You're just going to slide it onto this little ducktail, and you're going to take this, well, actually, to be easier, you could start this off like so until we get it pretty close. Then you can drop this little ducktail on here, and then you'll be able to tighten this up wherever you need to. Let's just go ahead and screw that guy in. All right, now we have that attached, and you're going to attach your one cable, and that goes in right here. You're just going to plug that guy in. Make sure it is facing in the right direction so that you don't run into any problems, but that's very simple. You can just press this in. I would use both hands just to make sure it goes in properly. And this is magnetic as well, so you can remove this little laser cover from underneath if you wanted to for whatever reason. I don't highly recommend that, but do what you do. All right, so let's get to some of the other components of the laser. All right, guys, as you can see here, everything is already pre-assembled. All of your cables are plugged in and all of the important components. You have this braided cable that's going to allow this to move freely. There's very little maintenance that you should have to worry about with this laser. And if we look underneath here, you guys can see the type of wheels and the belt that is driving this laser. So easily enough, this is going to be a great little starter kit. Now, this is made mostly of plastic, for those who might be curious. I also want to show you guys, I have this metal sheet here on my desk, and that's just to protect the desk. And luckily, the sheet is about the same size as the diameter of the laser, and I can just place that down just like this. Now, of course, we will have to add cables and everything to it. You have an on and off switch right here. You also have an emergency stop button right here. Here's your power input. That's going to come. That is for this cable right here. So let's just go ahead and plug this in. We will need to get our computer over here and connect this to Lightburn. And I have other longer lasers, so hopefully I won't have to install the drivers, but if I do, it's not really that big of a deal. So here is where you're going to plug in your power, right here in the front. I'm just going to use one of my little portable batteries over here to power this guy. All right, so we're going to slide this over just a tad, and we're going to bring our computer in so that we'll be able to connect the computer to this. All right, guys, so now we have Lightburn open. We're going to go into our devices and we're going to look for this laser. Let's go ahead and power it on. All right, guys, so we're going to give this laser a first attempt. So we have some 3mm black acrylic here. We're just going to place this down here on the bed. Now, you do have to focus this laser a little bit different than more modern lasers, but it's very, very simple. It comes with this little focusing block. So all you're going to do is take that little block and you're going to place it underneath the laser, and then you're just going to allow it to just rest on that, and then you can tighten down this little bolt right here on the side and then remove that from underneath. And now your laser is in focus, okay? And at this point, all we have to do is send our file over from Lightburn to run it. Now, I do recommend anyone starting out with this laser, familiarize yourself with the Lightburn material settings so that you can get an accurate power setting for, you know, different types of materials that you're gonna be working with. But I'm gonna go ahead and send a file straight to this laser. Now, I do also recommend, guys, that you wear your safety glasses. Yes, this does have a little laser protector here, but honestly, I would tell you guys to wear your safety glasses. Let's get to it. All right, guys, so we're just going to bring in a file here. Now, I do have a few things here in my library that I can choose from, but what we're going to do is we're just going to drag in a graphic right here onto the work area, and then we will engrave that first. So let's just jump over here. Let me find my file really quickly here. All right, as you guys can see, this is a very large file. So of course, we're going to have to come in and modify it so that it's going to be able to fit into the work area that we want it to fit in. So we're just going to go ahead and zoom back in here. All right, it looks like that is flipped. So let's flip that back in the opposite right direction. All right, so we want that to fit perfectly on our little black acrylic. So I'm just going to move this guy right about here. And we'll frame it up just to make sure that we have enough area to work with. Now we're going to be running this at a relatively fair speed. I'm going to go ahead and just grab my map, and I'm going to send this laser right where I want it to be. As you guys can see here, now I can adjust my acrylic here based on where I have everything set up. And we're going to frame this up as well so I can show you guys what that looks like. So a quick little framing here. Let's go ahead and hit our frame button. All right, let's do that one more time. All right, so that should be the perfect size. So let's take a quick look at our power settings here. So as you guys can see, we're running at a speed of 2530 with a power of 70%. We're running this in Jarvis. Okay, we have one single pass. The DPI on here is 423. Now this is just a test, but we're going to go ahead and run it just to see what we get. So let's go ahead and click there. Now we can come up here to this little icon here, and it's going to tell us how long it's going to take to run this, which is about 3 minutes. And we can kind of see how that's going to engrave onto the acrylic. All right, so we are good to go. Let's go ahead and hit start. All right, so that's going to start engraving, guys. And I will come back right after this is complete and show you guys what this looks like. All right, guys, as you can see, the engraving has finished. So I'm going to go ahead and send this guy back to home, and we will take a look at what our acrylic looks like. So let me just reach over here and grab this. All right, so you guys can see what the first engraving looks like coming off of this laser. Now, we could have probably went with a little, more power, but for a 2.5 watt laser, I still think this did a really good job. So we'll try some other materials just to see how it does. So let's try some wood and see what we get. All right, so I have this little piece of wood here. We're gonna go ahead and just throw this into the laser itself. Pop that in there. That's about 3mm wood as well. I'm just gonna position it right about there. So we're gonna just go ahead and run another job. So first things first, let's send the laser back out to where we want it, right about the same area. And that looks pretty good. Actually, let's send it a little bit higher up. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working with. Let's go ahead and adjust this wood a little bit so you guys will be able to see what's going on. And I'm going to bring in our next graphic, and then we'll engrave it here on some wood. So let's just go ahead and... All right, so what shall we engrave next? So let's find something that's going to be a little bit interesting for wood. So let's just go ahead and grab this little Minotaur that we have here. And this guy is pretty big as well. So we're going to go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. And let's bring it close to our working area. Right about there. Let's zoom in. Yeah, we can make that a tiny bit smaller. We don't need it to be super large. We just want to do a quick little test here. All right, so let's go ahead and frame this guy up. First things first, I'm going to set it to this position here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the framing button just to see where this frames. All right, let's do that one more time. All right, I can see that I need to bring the wood down just a touch because I have a circle that I engraved earlier just as a test. So let's go ahead and move that down. Let's hit that framing one more time. All right, there we go. So looks good to me. Let's take a look at our power settings. Now, Longer does give you a lot of power settings that you can utilize by just going to their website, especially for engraving and things like this. So you have some options here. Of course, this is, coming in as an image, but you could convert this to a vector. You could convert it to a number of different things. Let's see what it looks like on the print side of things. So it looks like this will take about 7 minutes to print this, as you guys see it right here. Now, we can also cut this out if we wanted to, but for right now, we just want to see how well this is going to be able to engrave. So let's just go ahead and run this job. Let's check our powers again. But before that, let me jump over to the Longer site. And let me show you guys what I'm referring to as far as their presets. So you can actually go to their website, and there is instructions there on using this laser. And I'm going to drag this over to the window so you guys can see it real quick here. So basically what you're looking at here is that you can kind of zoom in on these, and it's going to tell you everything related to our 2-watt laser. If you're engraving onto basswood, you want to set the power at about 90% for engraving. You want a speed of 2500, and you want lines. Well, it's saying for a laser Gerbil. That's laser Gerbil right there. So is there one for... I don't know if there's different settings for laser burn, light burn, but we're gonna use the same power settings. So we're gonna go 90% power and a speed of 2500, and that should give us exactly what we're looking for. All right, so that should be good to go. So let's just check our power settings for this guy right here. So we said 2500. That's a little over 2500 right here, which is fine. So we're just gonna make it an even 2500. And then we're going to set our power level to 90%, like the recommendation is. And this could be a little too much power, but we'll see here in a second. So let's go ahead and run this. This is our little guy here. And all we have to do at this point, guys, is hit the start button right here and make sure, again, you're wearing your glasses. But before I do that, I do want to make sure that I have set the right focus, because I have changed the material. So let's go in here and raise this guy up. And let's bring our little piece of focusing block underneath there. And let's tighten that down. There we go. Now we can slide that out. So we should be good. I'm gonna frame that up one more time just to make sure we're exactly where we need to be. Let's go ahead and hit our framing. All right, it looks like it's ready to go. So I will catch you guys on the other side of this engraving. Let's go ahead and hit start. We got about 7 minutes and 30 seconds for this to complete. All right, guys, we are complete with our little engraving. Let's go ahead and send this guy back to home. And let's grab our piece of wood here. All right, as you can see, it did a really good job engraving it. There are a couple of areas that it went a little deep, but that's okay. You can just adjust your power settings to, accommodate whatever materials you're going to be working with. So guys, I'm going to do one more test, and we're going to see if we can get this to cut this same piece of wood. And that's going to be our final test for this little longer RAY5 mini laser. Let's check it out. Okay, so according to Longer, if we wanted to cut 3mm basswood, we would set this at a power of 100 and a speed of 100 in order to cut. So that's what we're going to try. It says only one pass, so we're going to give that a shot. So let's just draw a little circle right here, and let's go ahead and move the laser right about there. And now we can just go ahead and frame this up, but let's check our power settings first here. So we have our line, we have 100% power, that's what we're going for, and a speed of 100, and we're just going to do one pass this time, and we'll see if that cuts all the way through. If not, we'll increase passes to see how many passes we really needed to cut this. All right, so let's go ahead and frame this up. All right. So we don't want to cut out our little Minotaur. So I'm going to go ahead and move this right about there. And then we'll frame that up one more final time. All right, we're going to run this one single pass. Let's see what we get. Let's go ahead and hit start. All right, guys, that took 28 seconds. Let's see if it cut it out or not. All right, so it did not cut all the way through. So we're going to try this with 4 passes to see if we can cut all the way through. 4 passes is our target. So let's go ahead and send it right back out to where it was before. I'm going to adjust that just a touch right about there. All right, so we're going to do 4 passes this time just to see if we can get this to cut all the way through. And let's go 4 passes. 100% power, 100%, 100 is the speed. And we're going to go ahead and just hit start. Now, as you may know, this laser obviously is not designed for cutting, guys. It's a 2.5 watt laser. Even the 3.5 is not going to be a perfect, laser for cutting wood. Where I think this laser is really going to shine is going to be for engraving things like metal, wood, acrylic, paper, materials like that. Engraving onto fabric is a great option for something like this. Maybe you want to do some patches. Leather patches could be a great option for this as well. But this is not going to be a super fast laser. But what this truly is, in my mind, is a great starting point for someone who's just starting to laser engrave, have been interested in this for quite some time, but it was outside of their price range. I think this is going to be a great starter laser. It's going to be one that you can grow with and pass down to someone else when you're in a position to upgrade to something a little bit more powerful, like a 10 watt, 20 watt, 40 watt, whatever it is. For a diode laser, yes, 2.5 is a little on the weaker side, but for crafting and things like that, especially if you're going to be combining with other substrates that you'll be working with, I think you're going to be very pleasantly pleased as what you'll be able to create with this. But I do believe that it will be able to cut through this wood at 4 passes. But again, it's going to be super slow, and you're taking a chance of, burning or at least blemishing the wood. So I wouldn't really recommend doing a lot of cutting with this laser. Not to say that it's not completely incapable of doing it. We'll see here in just a second. But these 4 passes right now are already over 2 minutes just in the time frame. I do also recommend, if you're going to use a laser like this or any laser, guys, get yourself some type of enclosure and an air purifier as well. All right, so that is the completion of our 4 passes. So let's go ahead and send this guy back to home. And let's grab our wood and see what the result was. Did it cut all the way through? Well, how about that? There you go. So I was able to cut through this 3mm basswood. Yeah, it did it. It did it. So I'm very impressed with that. All right, guys, it's been Rome with Rome Knows Tech. I just want to do a quick little video showing you guys and demoing some of the features of this new laser from Longer, the Longer RAY5 Mini. I want to thank Longer for sending this laser out for me to take a look at. And hopefully this video has inspired you guys to want to start creating. So if that's something that I was able to accomplish, then I've done a great job. I will see you all in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Peace. I'm out.